Good morning and welcome. We're back with the Wise Why, and this morning I am joined by the incredible and amazing Catharine Warrilow, and I hope I said that correctly. I'm looking at her going, please. So I met Catharine on LinkedIn, and the reason I met her was because she embodied absolutely everything about the Wise Why, because the Wise Why is about you, me, and everyone. And she was calling out Steve Bartlett on his podcast saying, get me on as a guest. Well, what is someone like me going to do? Immediately contact Catharine and say, come on my show. And she did. So, as we know, this show is not about me. It really is about my guest. So, Catharine, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Good morning, Kirsty. Thank you. What an intro. Thank you. And I'm really happy to be here, and that kind of post on a whim in an evening to Stephen Bartlett saying interview me has led to opportunities like this. So thank you. Yeah, so I'm Catharine. I'm also Oxford based. I think we've got quite a few Oxfordshire viewers on this morning, which is fantastic. I'm born and bred, lived here my whole life, apart from a very short stint on the south coast in Bournemouth, when I intended to go to university and changed my mind. I've got two boys. I head up a business called daysout.com, who I joined this year, who are soon to launch ticketing site for days out across the UK. So I split my time between our offices in Manchester and my home in Oxford, and juggle the usual kind of work-life purpose around that, with family, friends and career.
Wow. So I'm interested. You've picked up on you went to Bournemouth. Now I know I love Bournemouth actually, but you went to Bournemouth and then you didn't go to university. I'm interested in why you switched that around.
So I wasn't academic at all. I did very averagely at school. I was the one asking why we were learning things, why it was interesting, why we had to do it. I was that annoying kid in the middle of the class saying, I don't think this is going to be useful, the kind of teacher's dread. And then I went to college in Abingdon, and did art and design, and realised that there was a clique of people like me out there, and just being able to wear your own clothes in education changed the dynamic, calling teachers by their first name. And I thought, actually, this is a step in the right direction. I feel so much happier and more comfortable. I can be myself. I can challenge my teachers in a healthy way and not be disciplined for it. So I thought an onward kind of path through education was going to be right for me. And I did well at college and got into Bournemouth University to do graphic design, thinking I wanted to go into advertising. I wanted to learn how to use a Mac, how to use Photoshop, and get a great London job in advertising. And so my parents packed me up and I moved into a slightly grubby shared house, and was ready for kind of the next chapter. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It was a combination of lots of different things. It wasn't really about being away from home. I quite enjoyed that. The course wasn't right for me. The structure wasn't right for me. It wasn't my clique of people that I thought it would be after my college experience. And I just felt incredibly lost, quite vulnerable, shy. And I'd kind of made these leaps and bounds forwards over the 2 years between kind of school and university while I was at college, and really kind of grown my confidence. And it was a massive step back for me. I felt really out of my depth. That was probably the first time in my life imposter syndrome crept in. You're not good enough. You're not as talented. You're not as confident. You're not as attractive. You're not as brave. You're not as sociable. And it was a massive kind of setback, really. And I had to make that inevitable call home to my parents and say, it's not right. I quit. I don't want to do this. And they've never said they were disappointed. I'm sure they were concerned. I'm sure it wasn't what they were hoping to hear. And I got that kind of resulting horrendously crap telesales job in some grotty office in Bournemouth, and thought, right, fine, I'll prove it. I'll go out in the world of work and I'll make my own way. Got this horrendous job and thought, okay, this is making your own way is going to have some structure to it and some kind of direction. I haven't found that yet, but what's it going to be? And I did a couple of quite average office jobs, admin jobs in Bournemouth that I'd say were a stepping stone in understanding the world of work, just as a kind of introduction to going from education into employment. And ended up being in Bournemouth for 3 years in total before coming back and kind of figure out what the hell you're going to do. Which in hindsight, I was still only kind of 19, 20 at the time. But like most 20-year-olds, you feel like the clock's ticking. And looking back now, I was a kid. And I look at some of the kind of people we have in our office who are early 20s, and they're so smart and so grounded. And I just didn't know what the hell I was doing with my life at that age. I don't think lots of people did kind of 20 odd years ago. I think the transition from education to work now is not easier, but there's a lot more kind of support and structure around it. We bring the workplace into education a lot more so than we used to do 20 years ago. I don't know about you, but my careers day was that really stereotypical army, police, nursing, teaching kind of vocations. There weren't kind of design agencies coming in, or hairdressers, or architects, and like nothing like that to inspire you to explore different vocations. So like lots of people, I left education having no real idea what I was going to do. So I guess my kind of slightly wonky career had a bit of a shaky start after that setback in Bournemouth, but I don't regret any of those decisions now, because I think the bits that have been harder to learn and figure out are the bits that have helped me the most, I would say.
I love wonky careers. You only have to look at my about section to see how wonky mine has been. So I'm a little bit older than you, because I can tell that because my education was yes, before yours. And I can honestly say that at that point I was training very heavily to go into musical theatre and the arts. So our careers day consisted of being told how to do our tax return.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
We were taught about the importance of tax. We didn't do, and this is very, very different. So older than you, and we didn't even have we didn't even go and do a day's trial at someone's office. That didn't exist. You know, my throwing in, I didn't come into business until I was in my 30s, after I'd gone back to university to twist my CDET in musical theatre, which meant I could do a beautiful pirouette into a full-blown degree, which taught me the structure of how to write, which I really needed. So I love wonky careers, but the reason I love wonky careers is it teaches us or empowers us to see and think differently.
Yeah.
When we've been right down at the bottom, which you have been, I think it gives us an empathy for people. I don't know if you agree with me.
I totally agree. And when we first joined the studio, just before we went live, I was sending an email, wasn't I? And it was a job offer to a guy we want to hire as a partnerships manager. And my boss said to me, on paper, he's not right at all. But from what you're saying, he's perfect. And he is perfect. And fingers crossed he accepts the offer, because he's in his first job out of uni. He's not from our sector. He doesn't have half the experience we need. He's a real kind of curveball in a way, exactly as I probably was at his age. But he is charming and charismatic and relaxed and personable and relatable, and all those things you want in someone who needs to build partnerships and new business and relationships. So he is, as far as I'm concerned, he's absolutely right for the business. And I think I've learned the hard way, you don't hire people off a CV. You definitely don't hire people off a CV. You don't hire the suited and booted person versus the slightly scruffy person with I don't know. I mean, we're over the years of discriminating against things like tattoos and piercings, thank God. But on paper, someone might not be right, but actually sit down in front of them for 20 minutes. I think really quickly, and it is all about personality, and certainly kind of navigating my way through various jobs and career opportunities and having kind of myriad different bosses with very different approaches, some very relaxed and laid back and hands off, some very kind of micromanager and controlling, that you learn, don't you? You pick up kind of all of those different traits. You remember them all. I certainly remember every single boss I've had and kind of what I learned from them, good and bad. And I'm sure I've got my own bad habits, and people I've employed look back at me and say, oh, she was great at this but terrible at that. And I certainly made some massive mistakes when I ran my own business in terms of people management. But like you say, it leaves a lasting impression on you, how you kind of engage with other people.
It's really interesting because I was talking about, so when most people know I've been married before, and I love my husband now is just wonderful, and he always jokes and says, "You've been married before?" And I'm like, "Yeah, come on, let's get over this joke." But what was interesting was when I left the first marriage and I went into the world and I went into event management, I was really, really quite tough. And I'm just going to put it out there to anybody that knew me when I was an event manager. I would just like to say, I'm sorry. I am really, really sorry. I was hurting and I didn't mean to be quite so cutthroat and hard and very different to the person I am now. And it's interesting how I've learned. I mean, I used to walk onto an event, look at the people, and we were all actors and performers doing what we could to survive. And I would go, who's the energy sucker? Who's the energy sucker? Okay, no, we won't have them. I was horrible. So to anybody that I was horrible to, I apologize profusely, because it's not who I am now. But that taught me a huge amount of how not to manage.
Yeah. And it's a real insecurity, isn't it? And I've had bosses like that person, and I think I've been that person too. And I remember very early in my career when I was running a small agency, I had a call from a potential client at 5:30 on a Friday. And I picked up the phone. I shouldn't have answered it, really. I picked up the phone and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm just feeding my son his dinner. I'd absolutely love to have a conversation. Would it be okay if we scheduled something in for Monday morning and I can give you my full undivided attention, because I'd love to hear more. So he kind of reluctantly said yes. And when I spoke to him on the Monday, he said, may I suggest to you that you don't disclose to a potential client who wants to employ your services that you are a mother? And it's 15 years ago, which to someone who's kind of 20 who's watching this will feel like a lifetime, because they were still in school. But in kind of generational terms and not even gender equality, but just the world of work, that's not that long ago. And I kind of went away thinking, oh my God, I've got to be two different people. And for quite a short period of time, I must admit, I did work me and I did home me. And I was like, never the two shall meet again. And it took me a long time, really, to realise that actually the value in me as a leader and as a person and as a colleague, a friend, a confidant, a mentor, was to bring my absolute whole self to work. And one of the mistakes I made when I first started managing people was to try and manage people the way I wanted to be managed, because that's a kind of old mantra, isn't it? But like, treat people the way you want to be treated and everything will be fine. And actually that couldn't be further from the truth, because I'm different to the next person and the next person, and everyone wants to be treated differently. And to understand how someone wants to be treated and managed and supported, you have to be yourself. You have to let your guard down. You have to let people in. You have to let people see the real you, because otherwise, why would they let you see the real them? And I'd say it's not until the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years that I've truly brought my whole self to work. And now it's kind of one of my core values, show up as me. And I have a hell of a lot more fun at work.
I think it's really interesting what you said, because I'm here running my own business now because I want to be able to pick my daughter up from school. I want to be present for her. And I couldn't find, and this is only 3 years ago, I couldn't find it, and the world has changed even these 3 years. I couldn't find a job that would be flexible enough to allow me to go and get my daughter, but be there. You know, I can structure my day, and I've just done it where I'm no longer going to work on a Saturday morning, and I've made this promise to my husband, and I've made the promise to my daughter, so I can be totally present at the weekend. It does mean I'm working harder, or not harder. I'm being more structured during the week. But to have been told by a potential client, every single person that I speak to knows, hand on heart, I'm a mum, and that's going to come first. You will be there. Although I did have somebody who threw it in my face recently about the summer holidays. How will you manage them? And I went, well, that's where camp comes in, and my husband, and we tag team it. The work will not suffer at all because it's the summer holidays. Everybody has to navigate that.
Which reminds me, I really need to get my act together with the summer holidays. My answer at this stage would be, I have absolutely no idea, but don't worry about it because you won't even notice. And then scurry around going, oh my God, I haven't booked anything. And did you book it? Did I book it? Where are they going? I thought we were dropping them off at this club, but is it that club or is it that leisure centre? And can dad help?
So I'm already crazy. I booked summer camp in December.
Oh my gosh. I need to channel your organisation skills.
I'm a little bit, so because of the dyspraxia, I have to be super organised. An old boss of mine said to me that I was scary with my organisation skills. And I went, only when I'm on them. When I'm off them, it's scary to see what's behind the scenes. And if I am working to my structure, then I don't, and this is that neurodiversity. If I work to where I need to be and I play to my strengths, that means I have to get things compartmentalized. If I fall off that, you don't want to be anywhere near me.
Although I think so in terms of neurodiversity, I've gone the opposite way. I think I used to be highly organized, but I used to put a huge amount of pressure on myself through that for perfection.
Right.
And it does still creep in sometimes. So, and this is a random example, but the kids last summer wanted a sleepover in the tent in the garden with us. They both had COVID, so they'd had to cancel sleepovers with friends. So we reluctantly agreed that all four of us would sleep in the tent in the front garden for 2 nights. And we would eat outdoors and this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, it could be a mini festival at home. My husband said, we're sleeping in the garden. I'll put some burgers on the barbecue. We'll have breakfast outdoor. It doesn't need to be more than that. I was like, I know, but we could have a chill out area and we could have music and we could do face paints and we'll get glow sticks and we'll put bunting up. So off I run onto Amazon and order a ridiculous volume of totally unnecessary stuff, from bucket hats to face glitter to temporary tattoos to bubble wands, like everything you just do not need. Kids entertain themselves outdoors, don't they? I mean, all you really need is a football or something. And then I took stock and I thought, oh my gosh, I've ordered all this stuff. I don't really need all of it. What can I'll take something off because it's a bit excessive. It's silly. I'll take a couple of things off. And then inadvertently cancelled the whole order. And I'd only done it a day before, so it needed to come on next day delivery. And I inadvertently cancelled the whole order and it wouldn't let me uncancel it. And I stood back and I thought, I'm just about to go into meltdown about this. And I had to take myself upstairs and have a small word with myself, because I was like, none of this is important. The kids don't care. The kids absolutely don't care. I shouldn't care. So why am I stressing about it? So I think I've tried to take myself the other way from, if something goes wrong or I forget something or I end up having to take my child to the office or work from home unexpectedly because I didn't book that club or I forgot it was an inset day or my diary is a little bit chaotic, I'm just going to go with it. And I really have to remind myself of that, mainly because I think I'm a better, nicer person when I don't care quite so much, because when I care too much, it's when I worry about the things that actually aren't that important. If the kids are happy, they're safe. It doesn't matter if they have a load of screen time in the day because we're doing a parenting juggle and actually I forgot my husband wasn't here and I thought he was and I need to work, then so be it. that's life. I'm just going to do my best and try not to worry about the bits that don't quite go to plan.
I have just had a very similar conversation with Dennis on the same thing, because yeah, you can't do it all. I'm doing a talk in a couple of weeks where it's only a 5-minute talk, but it's a 5-minute talk about what I do, and it's actually going to talk about the structure of a social media video and cover off some vlogging kits. So it's not particularly intense, but he's in Switzerland. I've got a 6-year-old, so I'm looking forward to that. We've had some wonderful. I'm looking forward to the talk. I should say I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not so sure where my daughter's going to be, but that's fine. We've had some really interesting messages this morning, and I love that. Oh wow, we've had lots. It's been really busy. We've got hello from Abingdon. Good morning, lots of mornings, and then Annette has said, "Oh, that's the binman, everybody. Just so you know, that's the noise." Love life. So the career, Annette says her career was pretty wonky. Maureen has said, yeah, wonky is good. Hayley, wonky, wonky's really good. Again, about the CV, wonky. I'm loving this. Brilliant. I'm loving it. Now, Rubina, I am wishing you every luck this week. You've done 2 interviews. You've got another one next week. We are going to send massive, massive support your way right now.
Be yourself. Be yourself.
Be yourself. 80s was tough. Joanne says, shout out about neurodiversity. The autism show is on next week. That's really cool. Lindsay's joined us with great conversation. Oh, wow. People have been, and of course, about the parenting game. So beautiful comments this morning. What I want to talk about, which we talked about off air before we move on any further, was you and I have something similar where we spent life in our homes, or not in our homes, in a bit of a turmoil. I believe you lived in a caravan. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. For 10 months, which included a heat wave and a significant amount of snow. If anything outside of my career has been a learning curve and character building, then 10 months living in a static caravan in our front garden while we did up a house was, with 2 kids, was definitely an experience. But I have to say it was incredible, because it was a taste of the simple life. And that, as I've said, that sounds quite arrogant, and I don't mean it that way at all. However, we put 90% of our possessions in storage, and it really echoes the point I made just before about trying not to care too much about the things that don't matter. And I put like 3 boxes of kitchen stuff in storage that I did not miss for 10 months. Just stuff. And we lived in a very small static caravan, the kind of ones that you get on a haven park, like the basic one with the kitchen lounge, little circular table with a built-in circular seating bit, little gas fire, L-shaped sofa, and then 2 tiny bedrooms and a tiny shower and toilet. And in the summer, when it was nice, we ate our tea outside in the garden every night. In the winter, we wore 3 pairs of socks and 2 jumpers, and we slept with hot water bottles every night. And it was lovely. It was cluttered and chaotic and frustrating at times when the gas ran out, when you needed a shower, or the gas fire wouldn't come on, or there was literally no space to put anything. But it was one of the best experiences, and the kids refer back to it all the time. Do you remember when we lived in the caravan? Do you remember when this happened in the caravan? Do you remember my birthday in the caravan? Do you remember when we had people around for tea in the caravan and we all had to sit really close together? And it was just, I loved it, to be honest. I didn't love trying to get rid of the caravan and sell it after we finished. However, that 10-month period was actually a really brilliant family adventure.
Oh, that's just lovely. I bought a boat years ago with my first husband, and it had no roof on it.
Oh,
so I know, absolutely crazy. We bought it up in Doncaster, and it was an idealistic dream, but it didn't work for us. So we spent, I think, 10 months in and out of a tent. Then we moved into a camper van, as in a VW, which we converted so we could have
Wow.
something to live in. We spent the winter in our friend Helen's house. Thank you, Helen. Thank you with the bottom of my heart, because there was snow on the ground, and she went, "You've got to come in now." And I was like, "But we don't want to be a burden." I mean, what was I thinking? We had a dog, my ex-husband, myself in a tent, and snow on the ground, but I didn't want to be a burden, you know. Anyway, and then eventually we moved into the folk song, and we eventually moved into some of the boats, but we had only half a roof. My biggest thing as a dyslexic who cannot do maths, I designed, and I'm going to show my age here, I designed the 2x2 metal structures that went over to build and support the roof.
Wow.
I'm not, it broke. The stress, it broke my marriage, but the poor guy and me, I mean, it was going to break us. But wow, what it taught me and what I bring into my life now, it's just wow, you know. It is incredible. The not the need to have clutter. We look at our garage, and if it's not got sentimental value, it goes.
Yeah, I'm so ruthless with decluttering. We had some nice plans over the Jubilee, but I had some kind of downtime at home as well with the kids. And I just started going through cupboards and getting rid of stuff, just like silly things that have been there for years and years that you think, oh, I might need that. You never know when that might come in handy. I was like, right, it's going. I'm absolutely obsessed with Vinted at the moment. So I had a huge wardrobe declutter, made the kids go through both of theirs, and thought, I'm not just going to hang on to something because it's got life left in it. I'm going to get rid of it and sell it, and someone else can have it, and we'll put the money in the joint account and we'll put it towards going out for a pizza or something. We don't need stuff, and actually it can have a really negative impact on you, I think. If you go, especially if you go through periods where you feel less confident in yourself and that kind of thing, having a wardrobe full of stuff that doesn't make you feel great just compounds that feeling. And we talked off air before, didn't we, about it's not important how you look or worrying about how you look and that kind of thing. But I think equally for lots of us, things around us that make us feel less confident in ourselves, we need to just get rid of it, don't we? Just not have that reminder around us. I mean, I've got jeans. I've got my first ever pair of Miss 60 jeans, which I bought when I was about 19, which are something like a 22-inch waist or something ridiculous. Wow. In my loft. They need to go. The zip's broken. But I always think to myself, one day I'll slip into those jeans, and I won't. I mean, my hips are a different shape to they were when I was 19. I've had 2 kids. They are never going to go past my knees, but they're still in my loft.
So I can say I've lost all of that stuff. It's all gone. The only thing I dream about getting back into is the wedding dress with because I can get into it. It's just I'd like it to be a little bit comfier. Catherine, this has been great. This is where you get to turn the tails on me. I've put you in the hot seat, so you're welcome to throw a question at me, whatever you want it to be.
That is a great opportunity. Okay, so my question would be, so I did a really interesting exercise, which some people will have heard of, called Ikigai.
Yeah.
And it took me ages to get it. But when I finally did, and I worked through the process where you go through kind of your why, don't you? And your values, your purpose, what makes you happy, what you enjoy spending your time on. Mine came out as 2 things, telling extraordinary stories and creating special moments from nothing, which I really hang on to. That sums me up. So I guess my question to you, Kirsty, would to totally put you on the spot. What do you think yours might be? Like, what's your purpose?
It's what I do. It's genuinely what I do. It's helping people to speak with confidence and empowering them to believe in themselves, and storytelling along the way. And I know that. It was really interesting because you said it yesterday. I checked it up on the internet. So I thought, I'm sure I know this. And I did it. And I quickly did it, actually. And it came out with helping people. And it is to speak confidently, because I couldn't. And not being able to speak till I was 4.5, 5 was a huge impact. So it's helping people to speak confidently and feel empowered to believe in themselves. So
Have I
That's
got
me.
time to add one very quick thing, which I think is so important to this conversation? I did a talk at a local college, the college I went to the other day, and all the kids put questions in the pot at the end anonymously. And one of the questions was, what advice would you give to someone who has no confidence and is really shy? And I thought, well done for asking the question in the first place. And I think, to your point and your purpose, there is such a massive need, because I had no confidence and no voice at that age either. And we should be teaching it in school. We should be teaching people how to find their voice and be confident and be themselves from such an earlier age. And I think anything we can do to support that is just invaluable.
I'm with you 100, in fact, 1,000% on that. No, I'm going to finish it because it was so powerful. But thank you so much for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.